Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Gator Truth. On this episode, we're going to take a look back at the Gators' 24-20 loss in Jacksonville this past Saturday to the Georgia Bulldogs. I will say this off the bat that just like Billy Gonzales said after the game, there are no moral victories. However, I want to keep it pretty positive here, even though there is no positivity to losing to a rival like a Georgia or other teams like Tennessee, FSU, so on. But with that said, obviously not the result we wanted, but for a lot of people, a lot better result than they thought coming into this game. I know one person, and I'm quite sure a few listeners will know who I'm talking about. And that's one person had a 6.5 Georgia victory opportunity, had big Gator that I know, and he felt there was no way we keep it close and hammered that Georgia would cover. And, well, nope, they didn't. Gators only by 4. The frustration of the knee that Georgia took there at the end, instead of going in the end zone, of course. And what he said is, all I wanted was for Florida, if they're going to lose by more than 6.5. Or, of course, I would love for the Gators to win. Just don't have me lose double. But that's what you get for gambling on your team. And that's why I personally do not do it. Don't really gamble much at all. But with that said, I don't gamble betting on my sports teams. It always seems like there's going to be some sort of jinx there, just like that. So I figured that was a fun story to share off the bat. Again, you never want to lose one of these games, but sometimes you just have a fun afternoon anyways. And again, fun being relative. Of course, Georgia gets the ball first, starts off, goes right down the field, scores, and makes it look easy. 8 plays, 4 minutes off the clock, 75 yards, touchdown. Then Florida gets the ball and then ends up punting. And I had some people around me who were complaining that how dare we punt on this 4th and short? Why not go for it and potentially give Georgia the ball in plus territory if they were to stop us? And I was like, what? I honestly did not get that at all. But good thing was we punted. We held Georgia to a 3-and-out. And what did we do on the next drive? Of course, one play, 40 yards, and a touchdown to Trey Wilson. A Trey Wilson that many people had said was only here to be a gadget guy. Many that had forgotten, I said in the preview, have forgotten that Trey Wilson was a guy who really showed out early against the Bulldogs in 2023, led us straight down the field for a touchdown on the first drive. And then here he was in this game. Got to give him a shout out. 9 catches, 121 yards, long of 40, of course, for that touchdown. Big day for him. Now, part of that is because we ended up with him being the only one of the Gators' top 4 receivers, in my opinion. J. Michael Sturdivant, fair or not, I do believe should be the 5th option. But I mean, if that's a 5th option, that's not bad to have. The other 3, I think that I would put ahead of him, other than Trey Wilson, of course, being Dallas Wilson, VB3, and Aiden Mizell when they're healthy. And then, of course, VB3, Aiden Mizell did not play in this game. And then Dallas Wilson gets injured early in the second quarter, really limiting our receiving corps. And I do also believe that limited our game plan a little bit. Now, I always talk about we need to run the ball. Jaden Baugh, 15 carries, 72 yards, long of 22. Of course, he also got a touchdown. The big play that I know a lot of people will probably think about from this game, however, is when he didn't get the first down on 4th and 1. I really can't blame him. I saw some people blame him. Well, he needs to pick up that yard. I'm sorry. What I saw was the defense pinch in and take away the middle, and then him running a play call with the middle completely sold out. And sorry, he's not fighting through both, thousands of pounds of offensive and defensive linemen and linebackers and tight ends, especially when we put it, as some people say, put it in a phone booth, with 12 personnel, made it nice and short, didn't spread anyone out, didn't give them really lane options. At that point, when I saw the defensive line pitch in, I was really hoping for a play action or for a switch to a run to the outside. Instead, we ran right to where the defense was expecting it and selling out to go. And of course, we weren't going to get it. And we can argue whether or not the third down play call with DJ Lagway on that boat, we'll talk about that in a second, was good or not. But Jaden Ball, great day, in my opinion, against this Georgia defense. And even KD Daniels coming in, 6 carries for 20 yards. Overall, looked pretty good for his limited carries. Of course, I love Jaden Ball getting 15 carries in the game. Really, really helped out when we needed the defense to get some rest. And of course, going into halftime is like 20 minutes to 10 minutes time of possession, which is going to wear down your defense a lot more. However, it only ended up being 32 minutes and 25 seconds to 27:35. Why does that make a difference? Well, when we're talking about the defense getting worn down, and I'm talking about Jaden Ball, I've got to go to a big touchdown drive. Gators in the third quarter, they get the ball, go 3 and out, then they punt the ball to Georgia, who go 5 plays, 74 yards, make it look easy, just like they did on the first drive of the game. Then they, go down, and then what do the Gators do? Well, the Gators then go 12 plays, 79 yards, 7 minutes off the clock, and there, of course, pauses in there, but giving the defense a good rest. And in there we saw, a lot of KD Daniels runs. We saw some good runs by DJ Lagway, and of course, some good play in there as well from Jaden Ball. And so I talk about that, this offense, based on what they had, I felt overall did a good job, especially once you lost arguably your three of your top 5 receivers. And I don't think that part is able to be argued. DJ Lagway, of course, needs to be better. There are things that he definitely needs to take blame for when you're talking about he went 15 of 24, which is only about just under 66%. However, when you start as well as he did, and then you end up at 66%, we're starting pretty accurate, and then you go down, that's not good. I will say on our last field goal drive that he did hit, he did throw it to where it should have been caught by Abrams, and Abrams just did not make the catch. If he makes that catch, maybe he's still running. Maybe we end up with a touchdown and points change games. If we get that, we're up 24-17 as opposed to 20-17. Now, I would also step in and say my prediction was 20-17 Florida. So when we're at that point, stop Georgia, got the ball, and we're moving back down, I'm like, okay. I even was thinking I didn't want to put it out in the universe, so I didn't really say it to anyone, but it's like, if we get a touchdown here, it's over. Of course, we know what happened. We get to that third down I said I would talk about. Now, it's easy to second guess. Now, having the decision for DJ Lagway to run at that point on that 3rd and 1. Now, we had seen him run plenty and do some dangerous stuff in the game. However, some of that was like when we went 5 wide and then went up the middle when everyone spread out. That's not quite the case that we had on that 3rd down play. And of course, we end up with the 4th down play that I talked about, and Jaden Blah gets stopped. Unfortunately for us, gets stopped at the line of scrimmage. Maybe even lost just a little bit. They measured, it wasn't close. And then Georgia goes down, scores pretty relatively quickly, and then we get the ball back. And the reason I'm, changing up for this episode, not having slides and going through the bullet points, but I think the story of this game is very interesting because Florida gets the ball back when they score. I'm thinking they've left too much time on the clock with the way our offense had generally played in the second half. We're talking about outside going 3 and out to start the half. We're talking about we then went 12 plays, 79 yards, 7 minutes for a touchdown. We got a field goal, and then we were down in the red zone, and got stopped on downs. And I agree with going for it. I know someone said to me at the game, I won't say who, but it says to me, well, if you kick the field goal, you're forcing them to score the touchdown. And I was thinking, yeah, but I think, as I said earlier, I think the game's over if we score a touchdown there. I don't hate the idea. I do hate the play call. I do think if you don't audible or don't take a timeout when you see the defensive shift, sell out in the middle on a run, is going in the middle, that's kind of a problem. But anyways, we get the ball and then we go 3 and out. Lots of talk about this 3rd down play. Of course, DJ Lagway runs out of the pocket, throws the ball 50 yards in the air, and then I think it was a catch after all the replays I've seen since being at the game, but it wasn't ruled a catch. Lots of talk about DJ Lagway should have thrown it farther, and maybe he should have. I do think that James at Gator Nation has a great point about, is his shoulder fully healthy? Because we've seen this guy chuck it much further. And maybe he's right. Maybe that was a little bit showing DJ's not 100%. I don't know. But I also don't blame the guy. A lot of people saying, hey, you need to stop and set his feet. I'm not sure if he knows the defender behind him who gets blocked and kind of goes down. I'm not sure he realized he got blocked or went down. So I understand having the happy feet there. Plus having a defender now running at him. I understand. I'm not saying whether he should or shouldn't, but I understand it. I also understand he made a throw that should have been a catch, whether you rule it or not. I would say the biggest culprit I don't see a lot of people addressing is the turf. I mean, the turf had sacked DJ earlier in the game. And then on that side of the field, on this play, J. Michael Sturdivant, who kind of overruns the throw and is coming back to it because it is kind of an underthrown ball. But again, if a QB throws the ball 50-something yards in the air, I'm not going to fully say, oh, it's all his fault. But Sturdivant adjusts, and he's going to make a catch. He might even make the catch standing up as the ball thrown as it is, except for as he goes to plant his feet, he slides a bit. And that's not a slide of, hey, I'm trying to slide. That's the ground gave way. So this was a play that could have been a lot easier and possibly could have been caught and run anyways, if not for the slip. And that's nothing to do with him. We've seen this field have issues. Last year, DJ Lagway got hurt on a similar issue on that side of the field. So I don't know. Gators don't get that 3rd down. And then not a great pass by DJ Lagway, not a great selection on the final play of the game for the Gators offense. And had he just waited a second, And I do agree. I've seen on Twitter the breakdown by James from Gator Nation on this one. That if he waits a second, he's got the corner route coming open. Unfortunately, does not wait. And part of that is probably just feeling the pressure. And some of that is because he's had a lot of sack issues this year of getting hit. And it's kind of the happy feat of let me pull the trigger and make sure I get this ball out instead of taking a sack here on fourth down. And yeah, it is what it is. Again, needs to be better. However, there are things I do understand based on what we've seen this year. But I will say the Gators gave up 0 sacks in this game, so credit the Gators for that. And moving on to the defense. The defense, I mean, here's what I've got to say about the defense. Overall, I thought they played well. You held this Georgia team to 24 points. And just to put that in perspective, 24 points is one of the lowest totals that this team has been held to. Alabama held them to 21, and Auburn held them to 20. And those games, well, Auburn on the road, Jordan Hare, and then so doing that, I really think, and we can argue about whether they should have gotten a 30, 31. But either way, I do believe that holding them overall holding them to 24 points is not bad. I can't get mad about the first drive because how many times have we this year, including against A&M, who I think might be the best team. Actually, I'd go so far as to say I believe is the best team in the SEC. We're in College Station, and we went right down the field on them 2 of the first 3 drives. So I can't be mad about allowing that. Now, I was frustrated that we had a great play that Georgia got a field goal with, we gave them the ball after scoring with about 50-ish, like a minute left. And then they marched down the field. They scored to tie it up going into halftime. But the big thing there, of course, is we get the hit on Gunnar Stockton. It was ruled a fumble, and then the call got overturned. Now, again, I don't know how you overturn that, but don't overturn the catch that wasn't a catch, or the non-catch that was a catch, however you want to put it. I don't know how those two things coexist. I just don't. It is what it is. But anyways, 10-10 at the half. Defense has done pretty good outside of that first drive. I mean, they had 1, 2, 3 and outs, a 4 and out, and then also, an 8-play drive where Georgia only went 19 yards, a 10-play drive, Georgia only went 36 yards. Overall, again, pretty good first half. Second half, allowed the touchdown the first drive. Again, I don't like that, but I will also say I think the offense or the defense pretty tired at that point. Again, over half of the possession of the game so far, actually 2/3. It was like 20 minutes at the half. I can see them being tired. I can see Georgia seeing something come out of half, scripting something, doing well, coming out. Again, you got to be better. But at that point, it is what it is. But then you follow it with a 3 and out, and then the dam breaks and you allow the touchdown drive. And then you can't get the stop at the end of the game. It is frustrating. I'm not sure how I feel about it. But I'm not sure how I feel about, the dam breaking. But again, you allow so much time of possession early. Guys are going to get tired. Again, as far as defensive linemen go, we are missing, some defensive tackles and other players that just, with depth, it doesn't help. I was surprised to see after his great game that we didn't see Alfonso Allen coming at all. Jordan Castell did lead the team with 11 tackles. However, most of the big plays for Georgia in the game, when I look, it was like, what is Castell doing? And I don't like to go after any players really on this, but when I see something like, okay, they led the team in tackles, great. And then I realize, and he also got that hit that forced a fumble. That ended up not being a fumble. But then there are plenty of other plays where Georgia makes a big pass, and it's like, okay, well, where was the safety on that one? Or Georgia's big run on the game-winning touchdown. Where were the safeties on that one? I don't know. But either way, again, this team came out, competed with Georgia. Again, there aren't moral victories. But I do want to say we've seen Florida play Georgia in the past after firing a coach, or literally right before firing a coach in the case of Jim McElwain, and it didn't look this good. This team looked a lot better, a lot less issues than we've seen in a lot of Billy's tenure, and now Billy Gonzales cleaned a lot up. Now, 2 of 11 on third down, that can't happen. That's got to be better. 5 penalties for only 50 yards. I'll take that. Again, it's a little bit better. We didn't see any craziness with timeouts. Loved it. Again, not everything you want from a Florida fan, but enough to show that there is talent on this team, especially going back to your missing receivers. You're missing, some other talent like Aaron Gates. You're missing guys like Caleb Banks, who were going to be difference makers. And you don't have it, and you still come out and you're leading Georgia with, hold on, I'm gonna pull up the exact. You're leading Georgia with 5 minutes to go in the game, just like you're leading Miami in the second half. Although I think this Georgia team's much better than the Miami team. I do think this Florida Gators team, with everyone healthier, does beat LSU. This is the team I thought we could be, that we would, be able to compete and possibly beat Georgia, that we could beat Texas, which we did, that we could definitely beat Miami, that we could possibly beat A&M. And I think with an offense like this, again, with everyone that we had available, that we don't have available, didn't have available against Georgia, that's a game we could have won. Well, now we've got Kentucky, Ole Miss, and Tennessee staring us down. I will say this, for our offense, a lot easier schedule because these are defenses that are sub 50 in college football. In fact, the top one in the next 3 games. Oh, as I switched out of it, I had it up for a tab. Give me just 1 second. The top defense that we are facing is the 51st in the nation, Ole Miss defense. But then you've got Kentucky that's at 65, and you've got Tennessee at 97. So it's getting easier for this offense, which is great, especially for the lack of depth that we have. And then you've shown you can compete with these better teams like Georgia. So there's a good chance that even though we're 3-5, we can still make a bowl. Obviously, the night game at Hemingway, which we'll talk about when we get there, is pivotal to that. And then, of course, we have Florida State coming to town as well. Do I think there's a chance we go 3-1 over the Final Four and make a bowl? I think there's a chance. However, do I think there's a chance we end up 5-7? Yeah. 4-8, hopefully not. And I would be shocked unless something major happens injury wise. So if we finish 3-9, but it is good to see the team looking better considering the circumstances. And again, I would have loved to win this. I really wanted to win this. We've not beaten Georgia since 2020, but choosing to be positive and see some of the positives, I'm going to do that. But you've got to win pretty much every game out and do it for the seniors. With that said, thank you all for listening. And as always, go Gators.